All right. Looks like we made it. Yay.
Yes, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone. Anastasia, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Excited to start the new year strong. The rain will not stop me here. Thankfully, I think got through the most of it. Or
Looks
winter in
like,
California.
yeah, it's been pretty amazing in the last 2 weeks. But anyway, welcome everyone. Welcome to Sand and Sold. We do this every Tuesday at 11 a.m. We were off for a few weeks for the holidays, but we're back again and excited to get started. And just to introduce myself, again, as I said, every Tuesday, please come and join us. Ask any questions that you want. My name is Stuart Fournier. I am a 26-year veteran now of the real estate
Good
world.
for you.
Thank you. And my wife and I, Randy, we practice real estate here in the South Bay. We've actually practiced all over LA County, but we specify basically here in the beach cities. And we're happy to share our expertise about the real estate world.
Sounds good to me. I applaud you for your 26 years. I know it is a challenging industry, and the ebbs and flow of the industry keeps you on your toes. And the fact that you've been through so many cycles of real estate markets makes you an excellent real estate advisor. My name is Anastasia. I am a mortgage broker here in the South Bay. I'm out of Redondo Beach, California. But I do operate on a national level. I'm personally licensed in California, Texas, and Florida. And I'm proud to say, finished off my strongest year to date in my career in 2026. I've been in the industry since 2019, so obviously not as long as Stuart, but I was in the legal field before, so I'm taking those skill sets from my legal career and I plunked them down into mortgages, and it's been a very fruitful, and very some at times challenging, but nevertheless exciting career to get myself involved in. And now it's like once you're in, you can't leave.
That's right. A little advice to anybody that wants to get involved in real estate. If you're going to be successful, it's kind of a sentence. You got to stick with it. But
I'll follow
anyway,
this for sure. But yeah, we're excited to start the 2026 helping more, homeowners buying real estate, taking equity out. And today's topic is exciting because it's like, why buy a home? I think it's why. Like, why would somebody need to buy a home?
well, one of
Besides,
the reasons, yeah, and I'm so glad you mentioned it in that way, Anastasia, because one of the reasons I wanted to talk about home ownership today was, let's face it, it is not an easy jump for young people to take in their 20s and 30s like it used to be 20, even 10 years ago. In the South Bay in particular, I mean, the average price range in Manhattan Beach now is, I think, 3.2. Redondo is about 1.8. Torrance is somewhere in there as well. So it's discouraging, and it's hard to, think about paying off a student loan and then attaining ownership. So what we wanted to do today was tell you that in spite of that, and I know that's a big in spite of, there is planning that you can do. Everybody's situation, of course, is different. But what I wanted to do was talk in real generalities today, and looking at the landscape, particularly in the South Bay. The bottom line is, if you are making anywhere over, I would say, $180,000 a year. And that's combined as well. In other words, if you and your spouse combined are making $180,000 a year, purchasing property in the South Bay is a real gold mine as far as I'm concerned. What we've demonstrated for decades now is that, in spite of the economic ups and downs, including one of the more significant ones in 2008, the bottom line is that the best thing you can do in terms of your future, in terms of a long-term investment, is real estate. Now, we've had arguments over the years that we do better than the stock market, and there's some question about that. But the bottom line is that with real estate, you're not investing as much time as you would in the stock market. I'm not trying to talk down one investment in terms of as opposed to another. But what I am saying is that if you have a busy career and your spouse has a busy career and you're in that bracket of say 180,000, you should be able, and Anastasia is going to correct me on this if I'm wrong, but you should be able to afford a mortgage that's around $7,000 a month, which without a down payment actually trans in just very generally into about $1 million. Am I right about that?
So if we include, typically when I look at a mortgage liability, we also want to include homeowners insurance and property taxes. And right now, I would be looking at a payment of about 7,800 in generally speaking terms. So if somebody was to not have any additional debt, they would need a combined household income of about 190,000. So maybe a hair shy of 200,000. That would be at the upper echelon. So if somebody has $200,000 of household income, they more than likely, without taking a look at their FICO score and any other debts, they can afford $1 million loan, which would procure them about a $7,800 mortgage payment, which includes homeowners insurance and property taxes.
Okay.
So
Now,
hopefully that makes
right. Now, the other reason I wanted to mention that is that there is an incredible advantage, especially if you're renting and you're in the close to $200,000 range in terms of income with, again, two-person income. Obviously, if you're a single person and you're making that kind of money, it's the same situation. But more importantly, the tax advantage. Now, we are not tax experts whatsoever. Let me specifically say, I'm not giving tax advice. This is something that you definitely want to take the time and energy and talk about with your tax professional. But in general, I think one of the things that's misunderstood is how directly that kind of an income actually is affected by taxes, your property taxes in particular. And so I know, again, I'm going to catch you off guard a little bit, Anastasia, with this, but let's
yeah.
say I have $1 million loan and I'm making 180,000 a year, regardless of other types of tax situations, which are obviously different per person. In general, how much of a break am I getting off of my mortgage on that?
So yeah, so a portion of and I don't actually know what the caps are for this year. That's going to change, and the tax professional will speak on that. But a portion of the interest rate off of the mortgage is deductible against somebody's income. So hypothetically speaking, in this case, the total mortgage for on $1 million is about $6,000. So give and take, about $4,500 each month is going towards principal only for the first half of the loan cycle, which is the first 15 years. So presumably 4,500 times 12, can be deducted against income, but there are caps on that.
Right,
Additionally, some of the most favorable things we've seen in the last year is the increase in the SALT tax deduction. It used to be up to 10,000, now it's up to 40,000 this year and half of last year. So that means a portion of the property taxes are also deductible against somebody's income. And so those deductions alone can significantly shave off, the payment of 7,800. You could be looking closer to 5,000 or 5,500, depending on what other deductions are available for somebody working from home, working remote, deducting Wi-Fi. If you have a dedicated office space, deducting part of that. Again, not a tax advice, but something that I always want to bring up to somebody, especially with tax season coming up sooner than later. You want
right,
to disclose to your CPA and your tax professional who's filing your taxes as much of these available taxable deductions as possible, because unless you disclose, the tax person will never know. You know what I
right,
mean?
right,
So
right.
get a list, really itemize
Right.
what.
And so what I want to emphasize is that literally you can take these deductions right off your paycheck, where you normally are paying the government. Your ability to actually realize those savings in a, which is obviously advantageous in terms of your investment, you're saving money. So
Yeah.
I'm appealing basically to those that are renters. And over the holidays, I read a book. I'm gonna bring it up on screen right now. It's called I'm not pushing this book. I don't know the author. I just happened to pick it up, and I would suggest anyone that's in their 20s and 30s to pick up this book. It's an excellent, excellent book about investment, and it, of course, favors real estate as a staple. It gives advice about stocks and other kinds of investments, but it basically says the root of what you should be doing as a young professional is really thinking about saving for that house, for that down payment. Now, we're talking about figures without even having a down payment. That's why I picked that number, right? So generally, you obviously want to, be saving somewhere in the hundred to $200,000 range.
Payment, yeah, the minimum down payment for that loan amount, just so everybody understands, is as little as 3.5%. Now,
Right,
purchase price may not be necessarily that much greater than the $1 million loan amount, but that's fine because that could get you in that initial starter home of either a condo or townhouse in perhaps North Redondo. If you go out to other neighborhoods east of Hermosa and Redondo and Torrance, you can easily afford $1 million home. It's a
right,
single family home, so that's why the great part of the South Bay, we have so many micro markets here. We
right.
have, correct me if I'm wrong, is it 14 cities in the South Bay? Something like that, 14, 15 cities from the last time I looked into it. So all of these cities come with their own price tags based on the school district, based on whether they're part of LA Unified, whether they have their own fire department. There's a lot of different things that go into play about what each neighborhood costs. But the starter home in obviously South Redondo, Hermosa, Manhattan, that's going to cost a lot more for somebody. So maybe they
Right.
need to start a little bit more east, especially starting as early as possible, where the school district is not as important. Not that school districts east of these areas are worse. I mean, there, we have really good school districts. I
We
just
do,
want to
we do. We have good school districts all over the place. Redondo Beach has been just skyrocketing. They are the number one school district in LA County nowadays. So Maricosta and Redondo have been switching
yeah,
back
they're
and forth.
battling
They
at it.
have, but the bottom line is that we have,
Redondo, so we have a an informal rivalry there about whose
right,
city.
right, right.
Yeah, I just want
Uh,
to point out also that somebody who's paying 6,000, 5,600, 6,000 every single month to a landlord over the life of 5 years of paying that, which blink and 5 years is gone. I mean, if somebody started to pay $5,000, right around 2020, now they've basically flushed $360,000 down the drain without any appreciation, without any wealth accumulation, without tax deductions. And that's the difference, truly, between a mortgage and living and paying somebody else's mortgage.
so I know Anastasia, you love to take on clients that may not be ready today, but they may be ready in 6 months or a year, or maybe even 1 or 2 years. What is it that you say to them to encourage them to get started?
Most definitely. So the main thing I look at is their job. What is projected in their specific career path about potential increases in their salary, in their hourly rate. Potentially, is there any kind of designations that individual can obtain? I was talking to a truck driver last year who, with a couple of designations, he could easily earn $20 more per hour. That type of purchase power increase, going from $22 an hour and now you're at $42 an hour, is huge. And now you're in the range of being able to afford the home you want and not needing to move to Bakersfield. Again, nothing wrong with
Right.
those areas, but if you want to stick to the South Bay, it does. You do need to earn a certain type of income for obvious reasons. We're close to the beach, so I review with them their job. I review with them the type of debts they have, and we come up with a plan because there are times, and many times there's instances where somebody does not need to be 100% debt free. They don't need to have zero balance on all their credit cards. It's a good balance. You don't want to have a 90% utilization of the credit cards, but maybe we'll come up with a solution of where does the credit need to be compared to the loan amount they need in order to afford the house they want. And then the last thing I talk about obviously is Are there any family members who would want to help out with the down payment portion? And many times the borrowers are not aware that 100% of the down payment and closing costs can come from family.
Right.
So they essentially don't need to be out of pocket any funds at all. And maybe doing a home equity line of credit out of the parents' home. So now the parents can give those funds to the kids for their future. I did that a few times last year, and that was very successful. Taking a loan against a 401k, which means it's penalty free before their age of retirement up to 50,000. That often gets them the down payment they need in order to buy a home.
So one of the questions I get all the time, and it's something that I'm not clear on at all either, is how much of a factor can parents play when their equity base for the home they own is a factor, which is obviously a very common thing here in the South Bay. We have, I would say, even maybe a majority of
Majority.
parents that want to help their children get started. What are the variables there that they can,
Yeah.
use? I know that's kind of a big question. We're not going to
Yeah.
answer it in 4 minutes,
Yeah.
but
No. And then just to briefly review it, when I look at a parents who want to assist, the main thing for them, just like with any other purchase or a refinance, is their income. Are they on the fixed income? Do they have a paid off mortgage? Do they have a small mortgage now? Do we do a cash out refinance? Or do we do a home equity line of credit? And what are those different it all stems with income. How can somebody afford, and how much do they want to afford in terms of their mortgage payment? Because now they're basically, in order to take equity out of a home, now you're have a mortgage payment. And if it's $800 a month, if it's $1,200 a month, we determine what their comfort level is in terms of now making that payment. But
now
it's simple math. It's looking at somebody's income and seeing how much loan they can afford based on their liabilities.
And I think that's the bottom line. It's simple math, but it's with a lot of variables because every family has a different situation. Every family has a different income. Every family has a different equity base on their particular property. And so that's what we want to emphasize today is that with a lot of planning and wonderful experts like ourselves, we can
Yeah.
help people achieve these dreams because it
And I
does.
Yeah, one of the things that I want to mention, Stuart, is kind of a piggyback off simple math. Simple math because I'm an expert in the field, not because you need to go to a Zillow calculator and somehow figure it out yourself. Because a
Right,
lot of the times, borrowers come to me and say, "Well, I don't really need you as much because I asked ChatGPT, I asked Zillow Home, calculator, whatever.
right,
This is what I
right,
think I can afford." And they're often wrong because the property taxes are off, the homeowner's insurance is off, the interest rates are off because it's a lot of bait and switch going on the internet right now. So the best
right.
thing somebody can do is have a no obligation consultation with either one of us to get started, because it's like it just takes a call.
There's too many variables. We're again running out of time. We can only do this for 20 minutes. They take us off the air. But one of Anastasia brings up a good point, and we've talked about this many times on the show. Please do not depend on those internet calculations. Um, I love Chat GPT. I use it every day, all day. But when it comes to real estate, they're not there yet. They're not even close. They're using Zillow estimates for home values and things like that. So if take a look at some of our prior shows, and we talked at length about it. But anyway, thank you so much. Happy New Year to everyone. We encourage you to come on the air, share some thoughts with us. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comment sections. We'll be happy to answer them. And we will see you next Tuesday at 11 a.m. with a new exciting topic.
Sounds good, Stuart. And then I'm Anastasia. I'm your loan queen. And right now is the best time to get that conversation in. So reach out to me. I'm available, nearly 24/7. I do work 7 days a week. And right now is the best time to start. So even if you're 12 months out, the first call is all it takes. And it's not as scary as most people think.
We're happy to work with you. Bye bye, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Bye.